against Damwon Kia here for the second time. Now, the first time these two teams met one another here in Rumble stage, it was not a pretty sight for PSG Talon. However, they've flipped quite a switch here in the second half of things, being able to take down RNG. Of course, they lost to them earlier today, and now we'll see if they can get a win against the other top team.
They have been getting better and better, it feels like, throughout the tournament. This team really showing up. Maple has been an absolute monster. Kaiwing getting some much-deserved hype. I've also really been excited watching Doggo, who is just such a fearless player and has the mechanics to back it up, right? And that is the combo that you want. These people who see a window, they're not afraid to go for it, and they know that they've got the hands to make it happen.
Well, let's see how the draft shakes out. They've got the hands, but do they have the picks? We've got Thresh, Varus, Udyr, Renekton, Lucian, and Senna all banned away. First pick of the whole draft is the Kai'Sa here for Damwon Kia. Important to note, the first time these two teams met, this was also the AD carry pick for Damwon, and Ghost went 10-0 by the time the enemy Nexus fell. I can fully understand why they want to prioritize this here again. The response from PSG Talon will be the Lee Sin and Morgana.
Interesting, so pretty powerful duo here. I'm a little bit surprised because it is Morgana and Rumble left up. Of course, you can just play what you prefer. If you care most about the jungle matchup, though, most people do feel that Rumble has an advantage there over the Morgana. Of course, if you want to play with a crazy AD carry, well, Black Shield's pretty good. You slap that on Doggo, he can go wild, doesn't have to worry about the CC coming through, and it is going to be really good against some of the common pairings with the Kai'Sa, and Nautilus is coming through. This is actually one of the best answers to a Nautilus. The Nautilus ultimate is so telegraphed. Like, it is one of the easiest abilities in the entire game to Black Shield. You have got some time to be able to react to that one when people are trying to start off a fight with the ulti. So the job for Barrel is going to be harder. If you do go towards the Xayah, you're going to have multiple answers for the potential dive here. You're expecting Kai'Sa to want to be able to pile in. Nautilus goes forward. The Equalizer comes through. You're going to have both the Xayah ultimate as well as the Black Shield to help you deal with that.
Lots of tools.
This does now mean, though, that support will not be picked in the first round here, so there is some disparity among the picks. You are expecting then PSG to focus solo laners. They've already got their top. We're expecting the lead to go up there, so you ban up some of the tough matchups on that side. And then for Damwon, you just focus what you're worried about from Kaiwing, right? You know, that's generally the strategy, unless you're super worried about something else, is you just ban what you've already picked and try to narrow that champion pool, try to eliminate difficult matchups, and really set yourself up for success.
Well, they will eliminate that Leona. The set taken off the table, exactly what you're talking about. Don't want Lee Sin to have to deal with him there in the 1v1. Jace will be the next ban. This was also played the first time these two teams met. And funny enough, it was... Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't the Jace. I was reading the wrong thing on my stats sheet. That's my problem. Oh well, my bad. Anyway, Jace wasn't the thing that I was supposed to be talking about anyway. We got TF banned as the final ban of the draft here, and it looks like PSG Talon might be going for the Lovers duo down here with the Rakan to complement the Xayah. Rakan, of course, having a lot of powerful laning capabilities with Xayah in that 2v2, as well as providing a ton of engage power in the team fights.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense there. You don't generally want Morgana or Lee Sin as your primary engage. You want something to set them up, so the Rakan can fly in, you CC someone up, maybe the binding hits after that, the Lee Sin can pile in on top. It does make a lot of sense there. Leona is the most played for Kaiwing by far, but because that has been taken off the table, gonna have to go with a different option. He did play the one Rakan game so far this tournament, so it is still something that he does know and enjoy. Zoe and Gnar would be relatively safe picks. Normally you would be pointing and saying, well, you could go something a little bit crazy and try to counter that. We'll see if Maple wants to be bringing out something aggressive and really try to play in the face of the Zoe. Yasuo would be really spicy. I don't know if we're going to get it, but Maple hasn't been afraid to bring out some of these non-meta picks. You know, people bringing out the Akali, the Sylas, that most of these players are not playing at MSI.
Yeah, so the last time Maple he did pick the Akali, he got blasted by the enemy Sylas as Showmaker decided that would be his response into the Akali, and it worked out really well. This time around, it'll be Maple on the Sylas against the Zoe of Showmaker in mid.
So some really good ults to steal, not in the 1v1, but taking away the Equalizer, taking away the Gnar ult, those are both really good ultimates to be able to grab away from Damwon. Of course, there is the Nautilus ultimate as well. Those are the three that you're kind of expecting Maple to really rotate between.
So powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Situationally, you can get maybe something out of the Kaisa, but not expecting it. Overall, two teams that are looking pretty heavily towards 5v5, I would say. A little bit of split push kind of splashed in there with Khan on the Gnar. Of course, if you were ahead on the Gnar, you can play more heavily towards the side lanes, whereas the Lee Sin kind of wants to be with the squad. Zoe as well. Same thing with Sylas. These are more champions looking for the poke, for the setup, for the 5v5 here. And it will be exciting to see how PSG does play this one out.
Yeah.
Showmaker is perhaps the best Zoe in the world. At the very least, he's in the competition for the title. I was kind of having this discussion with Ender, and he was kind of putting forth Showmaker as who he believes to be the best Zoe in the world, and there's a compelling argument for it. And he really can make some magic happen on this pick. Traditionally, you see it kind of paired with one more piece of poke, but it doesn't always need to be. And if you were incredible at Zoe, Zoe is just always a good pick. It's just kind of one of those things where you can just make it work because the value it has in the game is always high if you have the confidence and the ability to consistently land those skill shots.
And one thing I want to bring up, though, talking about Zoe, talking about how she's always useful, Sylas is not the same case, right? Sylas is very unique in that you need to see what the enemy draft is, what sort of ultimates you can steal. But I want to go back to a number that flashed up on our screen during Champion Select. I believe it said Sylas's win rate at this tournament is 90%. Woo! That is ridiculous. Because it also implies that he has to play enough. He's got to have like 10 games played to even hit that number, and he's won 9 of them. And the reason for that is Sylas is only picked in situations where Sylas is really good. He's not like a Zoe where you can just sort of pick him in any game and hope it works out. So that just leads me to believe that PSG Talent has a lot of faith that this is a good Sylas game. This is a great opportunity for Maple to pop off. And if there's one player on this roster that I'm looking at to be the guy to put the whole game on his shoulders, Maple would be that guy.
Absolutely. Maple has been so good for so many years. You know, you're thinking back to the Flash Wolves days. He was dominant for them internationally for many, many years. The LMS at that time, as it was known, was kind of known as the LCK killers, right? And was them who would always kind of find these upsets against the LCK teams. They would often fall short against some of the other regions, but it was the LCK that was always kind of their kryptonite. So it'll be exciting to see if the PCS is going to maintain some of that magic here, be able to take down Damwon, one of the heavy tournament favorites.
You know it, my friend. Everything across the board is very standard between the two teams here. It's 2 teleports versus 2 teleports. We've got Predator in the jungle for Morgana. Conqueror on Canyon's Rumble. Not what you would normally see.
No.
Doggo taking some damage down here in the 2v2, so immediate bottom side lane control for Damwon. But yeah, the Conqueror on Rumble, often not the greatest choice compared to Dark Harvest, compared to Predator, so that's a little bit unusual. But down in bottom side, it's Ignite versus Ignite, it's heal versus heal. Everything else is pretty much par for the course.
And I would say, honestly, Predator doesn't give you that much value, right? So at the end of the day, it's kind of just how you think the fights are going to be going. If you feel like you're going to have extended fights where you can get value from the Conqueror, then sure, go for it, right? It's not going to be that big of a difference, but that hook does mean a lot.
Yeah, Doggo down to 200 HP here as Ghost and Barrel hit level 2 off of that last minion. That means they will continue to have this lane control, continue to have priority, shove this wave up, get it towards that turret. They know that their own jungler's on the bottom half of the map here. Yeah, Doggo just goes back to base.
That's a disaster.
As Barrel and Ghost will be able to shove this wave up, get this crashing into the turret. And yeah, that'll just be some missed EXP and gold here for Doggo very early.
I mean, that is actually completely game-changing. That's not just like a little bit of missed EXP or gold. That's you lose the lane now. You don't get to actually play in the 2v2 for the rest of the game.
18 to 4 CS.
Kind of difference. You go back, you don't have a buy, right? That is the biggest problem here. You know, he's going to be pretty far behind as far as the combat power, and he also lost a lot of XP. So he did get back to collect some of this wave, in the next wave crashing in because it was a cannon minion there, but multiple hooks actually landing from Barrel meant they win out in those early trades so heavily. They force out the heal, and Doggo just didn't feel comfortable. He was perhaps worried about the potential of a dive coming through, which if you're making the evaluation that I will get dove here, that would be game ending, whereas this is more of like the hiccup where you're going to lose in the 2v2, but you can still come back. It's not a game-ending type play. It's a, all right, we got to be scared for the rest of this 2v2, but you can still hopefully scale up, depend on intervention from the jungle, and that sort of thing.
So I was also just notified by our lovely stats and production people behind the scenes. A win versus PSG Talon here locks Damwon into top 2 going into the knockout stage. It gets them in there, and for those who are not familiar with the way that it works, whoever comes out on top in the Rumble stage gets to pick between 3rd and 4th as who they want for their opponents. 2nd then plays whoever was not picked.
Yeah.
So getting top 2 is very important because it means that you are guaranteed to avoid the other strongest team.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's also looking to, to dodge RNG, right? People are still thinking these teams are the, the heavy favorites. So you do, if you get first, get to pick who you play between 3rd and 4th, which is a big deal. But really, at the end of the day, you really want to dodge RNG, want to dodge Damwon. If you have to fight them,
you want to dodge each other.
You're hoping it's going to be in the finals there, as Hanabi taking the rough end of a trade. We'll see if Doggo can be able to kind of just catch up here. He has done well to catch up in the farm. Of course, there's going to be more minions for them to collect, and you have to be a little bit nervous about the all-in as you don't have heal. But if you can get through these next couple moments, we'll see if they can get anything done on the top side, as River will be behind Khan, but Hanabi is low.
The Narbar is just about fully charged. He hops over his head, looks to get away, but the binding is there. Hanabi continuing the chase. Khan at 150 HP, but the transformation heals him up nicely, and Khan survives, but it costs his flash.
That was actually a really nice binding, though, from River. The anticipation on the crunch there, jumping behind him, lands the binding. That does force the flash. I like that Hanabi and River did not actually flash in because he was about to go Mega, so he'd get the bonus health anyway, and he still had a couple hundred health with almost no mana on River. Your spells are on cooldown. So if you overcommit there, that becomes actually a bad play at the end of the day. Canyon here is going to get the dragon on the other side. Look at the vision control from Damwon in this bottom side river. 3 pinks up and around the map. We'll see if Damwon want to try to set up the dive because they're slow pushing this very deliberately. So Canyon is going to wrap around potentially. Instead, it looks like he just wants to go back towards farming, grab this scuttle, so it won't be anything too crazy. And with them being able to collect this wave, honestly, the kind of threat is over of the lane getting blown up. Had you gotten Dove on this wave, this would have been the last opportunity to attack Doggo without heal. So they've done a great job of just kind of stabilizing. Nothing more came from that early base. He will catch up in CS. It will be completely fine. Yes, they couldn't contest in the 2v2 as far as actually scrapping, but it didn't matter whatsoever at the end of the day because there was no punish on that. There was no dive to deny all of that experience and wave kind of coming in. So good stuff from Doggo, and at the end of the day, the early base didn't really matter.
And I like the fact that you bring up the vision control, because that's something that Vedius was praising so heavily in the first half of the day, is Damwon's ability to always put those wards down in the right place, always have the entire team investing in these control wards, investing in control over the areas that they know they need to be playing around. Beryl will try to freeze this wave here in the bottom lane. Kaiwing does everything he can to make sure that is not the reality, and the melee minions will be forced into the range of that turret, so a couple of those will be popped before Ghost is back in range.
So the big deal here, though, Doggo had to cancel his base because Kaiwing couldn't push it in by himself. So he actually had to cancel his base, and he still hasn't bought. So he's still on a Doran's Blade as his combat power versus now a serrated Dirk plus a longsword on top, right?
Yeah.
So that is actually the biggest deal, is that looks like a nothing play. You're like, well, who cares? They reset the wave. But yeah, Doggo can't fight. He's got no power. And you can see Ghost stepping forward. River is here to cover, so they want to push in this wave one more time, then get a base off, because Doggo is very weak right now.
And here they go. Barrel's decided to go in. Kaiwing goes for the knockup, but the flash out from Barrel's going to keep him safe. River has the ulti, but the Soul Shackles will not get the stun proc. TP's coming in. Kaiwing with a flash away, down to 100 HP. Doggo's now the target. A nice dredge line, and they make sure they get both Showmaker, Playmaker. Double kill for Damwon.
Wow, that is huge for Damwon. Beryl, the MVP of that play. That is one of those moments where this tiny little play that you're like, well, that doesn't really matter. It's an incremental thing. Who cares? That just turned into a double kill in bot lane because Doggo could not get back to base. PSG were unwilling to allow them to have a hard freeze because Beryl does this move. Doggo must cancel his recall. He must push him back to get that wave in. Then Damwon, no, we've already reset. Let's make it happen. Let's force a fight. They're going to win any fight that happens as long as it's even numbers. So they have TP on Showmaker, they call Canyon down, and there's just no world in which PSG win that fight. Damwon played that to perfection. This is all that snowball effect from that early recall that did happen. you know, it's kind of crazy to see these small little things. And this is one of the differences that I'm always so impressed in when I watch the best teams in the world, and you watch where they create an advantage from, or like how much you can get from a tiny, tiny little thing, right? Like that's not a crazy play, that's not a sexy play, but that may be a game-winning play to walk up and stand in front of the minions and don't let them crash on the tower.
All right, we've got a Rift Herald play coming out on the other end of the map now, so let's see if Damwon can secure this one if they want to stay on this. PSG Talon are collapsing in mass. Maple goes for those chains, won't quite be able to find it, but the equalizers drop down. Barrel taking a lot of damage here. Hanabi grabbing the kill on him. Kaiwing tries to get away, but Canyon's got the kill. Backing up now as he's overheated. Nautilus ulti coming through. Lots of damage coming out with a double kill back over to Hanabi, and he gets himself out. Not quite. Showmaker with a killing spree. Now down to about 200 HP, but it's 200 too much. Double kill back over to the mid laner of Damwon yet again. They lose their jungler, but it don't matter none. 5-2 here in the game.
Showmaker is fed. He also killed off the Rift Herald there, and he picks up the Rift Herald, so he can actually drop Herald and take plates for himself. He's already 4-0. This is getting to that danger zone where Zoe drops this Herald, gets a couple more plates, you complete a super early mythic, and you're kind of at that power level where sleep equals death, right? And it just gets to that point where you have got to be so terrified of ever getting tagged by something from Showmaker. He will cash in on all this gold here. What is happening there?
Shelly
the
looked
charge
like
bugged out.
Yeah, Shelly.
This charge straight up bugged out. They're gonna pause.
Yeah. That's a bug. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelly went to charge, and then her model glitched, sort of half charged and didn't do anything. So yeah.
I think what happened was because it was dropped directly on top of the tower, it was in melee range, and so it begun the charge animation, and then it looked like there was some sort of glitch where it is like, oh, I'm in melee range, time to start an auto. So before the charge actually completed, it looked like it began an auto attack. And as a result, the charge did not complete. Now, I'm not 100% on that. That's just, me watching it live and my interpretation of what happened there. But I'm glad that they did pause. Hopefully, we can, chrono break to right before it gets dropped, and so nothing else gets affected, and he can just kind of redrop it a little bit different, or maybe even redrop it in the same position and we don't have an error, because that is a big deal, right? That's 2 plates, that's an extra kill on top.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It's smart to pause, right?
Yeah.
And it's also a more easily assailable mid lane tower, where now all of a sudden if Maple dies or even gets pushed out, you just finish off the turret because it's very low. So this is an important game for Damwon. They want to secure top spot. They want to be able to decide who they play in the knockout round of the 3rd and 4th place team. So I always respect the player's decision to pause there. If you're not even sure, even if you're not positive that it's a bug, but something weird happens, you should pause, check with the refs. That's what they're there for, and they can sort it out and hopefully make sure that the right decision is come to, because these types of things really can affect a game. And even if it doesn't decide the game, if it affects your mental, that can be a big deal too.
Yeah, that's 100% a tilter, man. If you drop Shelly expecting a headbutt and 2 plates, and instead you get a half-hearted right hook that takes off 12 health from the thing, that's a bad deal. I'm not going to take that deal.
It's like one of those, those punching games when you go to the arcade and you can see how hard you can punch, right?
Yeah.
And you're winding up, and you swing and you just whiff on it. And, you're kind of feeling good about yourself going into it. You're like, I'm about to get a top score. I'm about to look real cool. Maybe you miss and you punch into the wall and you really hurt your hand. So it's insult to injury. Not only are you not getting a prize here, but you're looking stupid in front of your friends. It's kind of a disaster. So, if you could chrono break that in real life, that would be something that I would utilize in those types of situations.
Well, Shelly's glad to not be the one looking stupid in front of her friends. And that Showmaker's glad to hopefully be able to get that plate money back and continue accelerating the state of this Zoe. Because you said it, Azael, this is getting dangerously close to that point where I don't care if the clock says 10 minutes, everybody's brain says the real time, which is 200 years. Because that's the experience PSG Talon are about to have.
Showmaker
walking
clock.
along with 100% HP, snap, you're dead.
Yep. You get a certain amount ahead, and the Sleepy Trouble Bubble actually changes in-game. The spell description changes to Dirt Nap. Because if you get hit by it, that's what you're about to take. It's one of those little Easter eggs that you may not have noticed, especially made there for Showmaker and those types of Zoes.
Well, those Zoes that are in the conversation for best Zoe world are the ones who exclusively get access to the alternate named ability.
It's an upgraded ability, much like Kaisa gets, you know, but you have to be really good. And really
instead of stats in game, you have to have stats in real life on the champion in order to cross the threshold and get the evolution of the ability.
Exactly. For me, it does the opposite because I'm never going to hit that. So it actually just, there's no tooltip when I mouse over the
I refuse
the
to
Zoe.
believe you are a literal world champion. You have World of Warcraft NPCs named after you. I refuse. You are slandering yourself, and nobody talks trash about my friends. Not even my friends, Zale. I refuse.
I like that. That's some real ride or die, bro love stuff going on. You know what? I take it back. You've hyped me up enough. I can do it.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We can queue up some Zoe. First time.
All right, we're going to be looking at that, but right now, league officials are investigating the pause, seeing what's going on with Shelly, seeing what's going on with this whole situation, and we're going to send things back over to the analyst desk.
Hello? No, we want to hear more of Captain Flowers and the Zale going crazy. That is prime pause content.
True bros.
Yeah, true bros indeed. We love it. Sticking up for each other. So yeah, we're going to take over. I would love to listen to him a bit more. But, you know, we gotta keep it serious. But this is, in fact, a very serious game, of course. Yeah. PSG is still fighting to get through because they haven't locked their spot yet. And Damwon Kia is locking to look top 2 in the group stage or in the Rumble stage rather. So we will talk about the game while the league officials are investigating. Let's pull up the draft now. I've been very impressed with PSG in the last couple of games that they have showed. But what has seemed to be instrumental for them to do well is controlling that mid lane. Was that possible with the Sylas pick that came out? And then how did it evolve in the actual game?
This Sylas pick kind of confused me a lot. Yes, you've got Nara ult, Rumble ult, and Nautilus ult. So you've got a lot of ults to work with. But in lane phase, I'm pretty sure Zoe does a really good job into Sylas in the lane phase. So definitely struggling there. You could see he was down 10 to 15 CS. Zoe was able to roam around. And I think that Damwon are off to a great lead at the start of this early game. PSG obviously picking up a win here would be huge, right? To lock in the 4th or 3rd place that they're looking at. And they have managed to take down RNG, right? But they haven't managed to take down Damwon just yet. So we'll have to see if they can pull it off.
There's really big fly here that I'm just going to swat away. Yeah.
Towards me.
No. Oh my God, it's actually attacking me. Okay, we need to pause the analyst desk, I think. So, Lyric, what did you think of the draft specifically? And also the fact that usually Maple needs to have priority and needs to get off to a good start for PSG to have the biggest chance in these games?
Yeah, it's a bit weird to see the Sylas come out, like Kajal said. We have seen Maple pick up things like the Akali, which also don't bring you lane prio. But I like that PSG are at least sticking to, once again, their play style. They've been much more of a pick-oriented team. You can see their composition's a lot more about getting, prio on side waves with Lee Sin and Sylas later on and trying to rotate that into some kind of flank, maybe catch out Zoe later in the game. The question is, can PSG get there?
Oh. Are we back in the game,
we might
or
be
is
back
this
in
the
game,
replay just showing what the issue was?
No, there was a chrono break initiated to reset the game to 10 minutes and 8 seconds, and that's what we're seeing. So the casters are going to take it over.
All right. Thank you, Shocks. Welcome back, everybody. We are back in the game. As you can see by the mid lane turret's health, Shelly finally learned how to charge at the damn thing correctly. Now we're ready to go. Now we got a 2,500 gold lead for Damwon. We got 10 seconds till that next Drake spawns. Let's see how it shakes out here.
Let's go, Shelly. Way to be. Good hustle out there. You'd love to see
Shelly.
it.
You have one job and you did it right this time. Well,
I mean, if you only got one job, it's pretty important that you do it right. That's your whole thing.
I mean, that's how we all noticed that something was clearly wrong. The one job she had was clearly failed, but now it's all fixed. That mid lane turret is not looking very good. That 4th plate is almost gone now as well, and with almost 3 full minutes still left of plate time, you would almost assume that Showmaker will get that one guaranteed too.
Coming back for a second helping for sure. 4-0. Almost has the full on Everfrost there. Showmaker looking to put on a highlight reel this game. PSG, I think, are going to be pretty largely dependent upon Doggo in this one. He is behind, but Xayah does scale incredibly well. If you can kind of stabilize the game, try to slow it down a bit, maybe you can kind of catch back up, depend upon the mobility, the difficulty that there is to actually dive someone like Doggo in this game. If the Xayah gets fed, you could start to deal with that front line, but the zoning potential that they do have is really tough to deal with. And the thing that really complicates the problem is not only are you quite down in the gold, but they got the first 2 dragons. So it's kind of that issue where you gotta go and fight them at the next one. You don't really get much of a choice. You know, if PSG had snagged away a dragon or 2, you can kind of sit back and say, we don't want that one. We'll wait till 20. We'll wait till 25. We'll see you then. But in this case,
It's tough.
yeah, it's tough because you either make the call and you say, all right, we got to fight, but we're way down in gold. We don't have our item completions. We're going to have to go for it anyway. Or you give up soul point, and you better hope that you do not mess up a single time for the rest of the game, because one pick, one poor smite, one bad team fight means you lose Ocean Soul, and likely means you lose the game.
And I mean, especially when you're up against a champion like Zoe, it doesn't even have to be a full pick or a missed smite, right? If Zoe just hits a paddle star onto one of your carries, chunks him by 75%, sorry, Dragon's done.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to win a fight now, right? It's this champion alone. The way that Zoe can warp the game if she's fed, the way that she can create such incredible pressure from such incredible range, it's just a disaster if you fall too far behind in the neutral objective game. So we'll see how PSG Talon can tackle that problem and deal with it. They still have almost 4 minutes before that third Drake will spawn. You can see Doggo and Kaiwing have rotated themselves into the mid lane now. They'll be pushing that one up, but Showmaker is perfectly content to sit here. He can clear the waves. He'll do all right with that. Has the Everfrost along with the Sorcerer Shoes completed, so very, very deadly.
Yep, absolutely. Zoe's an interesting champion because a lot of times when the Rift does change, most champions don't really care about it. You know, there's some that have specific interactions that kind of matter with their champion. You know, people talk about Rengar on the Ocean map. Zoe is one of the ones that I do think kind of is most affected by it. You know, if you get an Infernal Soul map, walls are removed, you have less angles to actually land sleeps. If you get the Mountain Soul map, you have more walls to knock those through. But I would say past the Mountain Soul, the Ocean Rift is actually really good for Zoe because there's more pockets of vision to hide from. There's more angles that you could be coming from, especially when you are behind, that you have to watch out for. You know, it's so tough for PSG to actually maintain vision in the river when they're down. And now there's even more brushes that you have to worry about the Zoe popping out of, landing asleep, about Nautilus coming out of, and hitting a hook. Because as you said, one spell landing could mean the end of that potential dragon fight, and now there's that many more areas that you've got to be concerned about it coming from.
Holy moly, man, it's Demolition City here on Summoner's Rift. Mid lane tier 1 turret for PSG goes down. Showmaker with a flash away. It's his real flash. By the way, important to point that out. As the mid lane turret for tier 1, the mid lane tier 1 for PSG Talon, that drops first. So Damwon get that extra money there. Immediate response from PSG up in the top lane, and a response to the response in the bottom lane leads to a 2-to-1 turret count in favor of Damwon. Overall 4,000 gold lead. 2 minutes. 2-minute warning for PSG Talon. The dragon is spawning soon. They must be able to be ready for this. But look at the incredible vision yet again. Placed by Damwon in the bottom half of the river. It's lit up like a Christmas tree. They know anything and everything happening around here.
I mean, where is even the closest ward from the other side? There's not one in that half of the map. I think the closest ward is their 2-2 tower. Like, they got nothing. So
the only wards are that little triangle of them in the topside river. That's it.
But who cares about topside right now? Like, you can give up the second Herald for free as Damwon as long as you're grabbing this dragon, putting to Ocean Soul Point. But my question is, does this mean PSG are giving it up? I think it probably does. Unless Hanabi is going to base like right now and come back on this wave and group and try to push in for vision, I think they will just actually make that trade. And it looks like that is probably going to be the call. If you make the judgment that there's no way you win a fight no matter what, then sure, you got to take the better chance. You got to just try to scale it up, collect as much gold as possible, and say, all right, we don't want to do it, but we're going to have to do it, and we're going to have to look towards that fourth dragon. They will have Herald. So the hope here, I think, if you're on the side of PSG, is that now it's a dragon trade that you probably have to give up, but maybe you knock down the tier 1 mid with Shelly and try to at least collect a little bit of gold to scrape your way back into the game here.
And worth pointing out, Medjai's Soul Stealer upgraded to the BM book itself. Here, Showmaker has that ready to go. Already had the 8 stacks on the Dark Seal, so decided he wanted to see how many pages he could get in the book. We'll be keeping an eye on that one. He is currently deathless, 4-0 and 0. 80% kill participation here. Damwon has control over the bottom side. Holy moly, man. 1 paddle star and it's half your HP.
Yeah, that's a paddling. Back to base. But they're actually setting up to fight. So they may drop Herald and then try to move in. I'm not sure if they want to commit to that. At the very least, they want to get Pry out here in mid. but this is just so annoying trying to deal with this. And Doggo getting put pretty low. That's the heal, that's the Gale Force down, and they are getting pushed back here.
Barrel's going in, hits the dredge line on the support. Doggo had to use the ulti, so everything but Flash now down for the Xayah.
Okay.
So many escape mechanisms, but so many had to be used to guarantee that he stays safe here.
Maple does have the Gnar ulti. Uh-oh, this is actually bad. He has Gale Force. He can actually maybe close the gap.
Oh, he tries for it. Ghost goes in. Doggo's taken so incredibly low, but now Ghost might be the one who gets punished. Equalizer comes down, buying a little bit of extra space. Binding onto Beryl, who's now jumped on by Hanabi, who takes him down. River the one getting the kill credit here, and PSG Talon have a 1-for-0 fight.
Yeah, Ghost got way too hyphy. Honestly, when Showmaker doesn't hit the paddle star there, doesn't hit the damage coming through, there's no reason to ult in there. He goes too far and ends up giving over some kills. His Barrel has to try to back him up, and now PSG have a realistic chance to actually grab this dragon here, but Showmaker looking to prevent that is still on the side. Remember, Maple still has the stolen Gnar ultimate and an Everfrost now, so if he could set himself up here, he has Flash, he has Mega Gnar, he's going!
There it is! He gets the slam onto 2, but it's not enough. Maple having to back away now. The Dragon's still at about 3K. There's the paddling, baby! And there's the real Mega Gnar ulti! There's a double kill for Showmaker. Is it about to be 3? I think it is. Double, make it happen! There's your equalizer. Triple double for Damwon Kia. The ace and the soul point goes to them.
Will the real Mega Gnar please stand up? Khan coming through, slamming him into the wall, showing Maple how it's done with the Gnar ulti.
Very, very nicely done. It was looking a little dangerous there after things got sketchy, losing one of their players, but they strike back so well. Damwon now getting the Drake with a massive gold lead. It is looking great here for them 19 minutes into this game.
Absolutely. That one got a little bit dicey with Ghost going in too far, Barrel losing his life. But at the end of the day, with the re-engage here, this is the initial play. The sleep lands. Showmaker wants to use the Gale Force to try to get in range to actually land the Q, but it misses. And I think Ghost was expecting that it would land. He would ult in, and Doggo would be like 10% HP and just get popped instantly. You grab that kill, then you back it up. But unfortunately for him, the Q did not land, so he ults in, loses most of his health. Barrel is moving in for support, does go down, but Showmaker on the side lane with one sleep. That's the black shield gone. So the next one is really going to be the kill, and he's continuing to fish from this angle. Maple goes in, does find the ulti on 2, but it doesn't connect with the wall, so not much mattered. And as Showmaker hits the sleep onto Hanabi, he gets a kill on that. Khan flies in. That is the multi-man Gnar ult that Maple was looking for. And of course, Showmaker hits those over the wall. Rumble ulti to slow him down. The sleep to finish him off. He's loving it. 20 pages in the book. We're back to live.
Hold on. We're back to live as Doggo gets the kill onto Ghost to start off the fight. River will be traded back here now with the Gnar auto attack, finishing him off for the very last hit. 1-for-1 trade here in the mid lane.
Nicely done there. They do grab a kill. PSG's got to take whatever fights they can get. They are getting into a really dire situation. So this is one of those situations, not as bad as what the PGG versus Mad game was, but really you're getting there. Where pretty much anytime you see, all right, we got 3, they got 2, go. We got 2, they got 1, go. Anytime you feel like you can get an odd number fight, you pretty much must take it. You're just not going to win this game by playing slow. They're on Ocean Soul Point. The Baron is on the map. They're enormously ahead as far as the gold lead goes.
20 stacks on Zoe, by the way.
20 stacks on Zoe. Horizon focus done. So this is true, like, I don't even know if you need much more than just the Q. I don't even know if you need the sleep at this point to one-shot one of the carries. So, you know, PSG has got to take whatever they can find, and you've got to try to hope that you find the miracle fight maybe at the Baron or maybe at that Dragon Soul.
I mean, yeah, Silas has a Mercury Tread. Rakan has a Mercury Tread. Since Xayah doesn't, I think he could actually just one-tap Doggo with a max range paddle star with no sleep and just kill him instantly.
I mean, that was Kaiwing with a Locket plus Merc Treads and about 80% of his health, plus he had the passive shield, I do believe. Let's watch this one more time. Ghost a little bit too far up. They see 3v2, like I said, you find an odd number fight, you take it, you go for it, even if it seems pretty risky. They do get the kill, it's traded one back. We can see on the top side, though, as we go back to live, Showmaker and Khan will be taking down this tower as Damwon is rotating up to prevent any potential response Damwon knows what the option is for PSG, and it's finding those odd number fights. So anytime you don't see PSG on the map, you must expect that they are making the move towards the play, and they may have Showmaker.
Nice binding. This is huge for the shutdown, and the money goes over to Hanabi.
Showmaker unable to flash that, maybe looking somewhere else, didn't actually see the binding coming through. And once that landed, the CC was layered very well. 1K shutdown does buy them a little bit of time, and it's obviously more costly when you lose 10 pages out of your book there, but Showmaker's still monstrously strong, and unfortunately for PSG, it is not close enough to the Dragon for that to really impact that fight. All they got off him was the spellbook heal. He's still going to be alive. He's still going to have himself ready to go here, and it's going to be about this fight. Can PSG find a way in to get some vision? Can they find some sort of miracle ult from Maple with a stolen equalizer, a stolen Meganar, something to be a game changer? You really have got to depend on your X factor at this point in the game, because normal fights are just a loss. There's just no way, right?
Yeah.
So here it is one more time. Yeah, this one straight over the wall. There was basically no time to react to that for Showmaker. Wasn't able to flash the binding as it's coming out of fog. You only see it once it's coming over the wall there. Does get tagged by it, does get burst down. Nice pick from PSG. But it's all about the soul, and they got to find the miracle engage. It's got to be a kick from Hanabi through multiple members, you know, 5-man knock-up or something crazy for Kaiwing, some sort of miracle Meganar. Like, these are unrealistic, but they're also your only real chance.
So we have all 10 summoner spells for PSG Talon. The 2 teleports, as well as Barrel's Ignite, are not available for Damwon, so it will be a summoner spell advantage for the side of PSG. But they are down 6,000 gold, and for those who were not paying attention when the Observer switched over to the gold count earlier, 4,000 of that 6,000 lead is the difference between mid laners. Showmaker was at just under 11K. Here we go, thank you once more. 11,000 versus 7,000 there with the mid lane. So much of it is mid diff, and now the Dragon has been aggroed by PSG Talon. Hanabi here on the flank, he's on top of a ward. He does have flash to try to make that huge kick play, but when Damwon knows
double
exactly
smite,
where
they're
he
just gonna
is, it's stolen away. Ocean Soul for Damwon.
That was really well done. Zoe had the W smite, the spell thief smite, so they just walk up and they double smite it. There's no way for River to actually stop that, so they secure it, they get soul, and they just want any fight now.
Okay, Hanabi and Khan in a 1v1. Barrel joins up to make the fight not fair. Equalizer down on the ramp, exactly where you like to see it placed. River with a flash away, able to stay alive, but now the Nautilus hook's coming in here with a dredge line. Canyon's able to find some damage down to Kaiwing, but now the rest of PSG's got to be careful. Maple's probably the first to die here as Doggo's going to be taken very low. Kaiwing getting himself away. River now hit by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and Khan grabs the kill on Maple. There's your killer instinct. There's one, there's two. Everybody on PSG Talon drops dead, and Damwon takes the fight.
So well played there. It looks like a 50-50, but because they have Zoe's smite, because Zoe is so high level and they can combine that with Canyon, it is not even close to a 50-50 here. Hanabi on the retreat, but Showmaker is behind him. He TP'd over there, I think.
Oh boy, Hanabi looking to at least try to take Canyon with him. Showmaker blocks the Sonic Wave, the exhaust comes down, the ace is out, and it's Baron for the prize.
He drops the equalizer on the Baron, flashes the game over emote there. Canyon letting them know it's time to get out the game, because this one is all Damwon. Here it is, look at the timing. 1,200 to dead. There's nothing you can do as River. The Dragon was just too low, and they couldn't actually find the fight before it. You can't really force the engage because you'll just get poked out walking into Zoe. So Damwon just handled that masterfully, and then the skirmish. As soon as you have Ocean Soul, any extended fight is so heavily in your favor. So Khan's like, yep, I'll get in there. Let's start to scrap. On the other side, there's skirmishes going on there. Canyon is pushing people out. You know, he is waiting for Doggo, knowing that he's gonna have to flash over the wall. Yes, they do push back the Rumble. They do almost take him out, but you can see the healing ticking through, and everyone is very, very low. Ghost goes in, Doggo nicely timed stopwatch, but it was never gonna save you from the Kaisa.
Absolutely not. Damage dealt in the last team fight. It's all about the top laners, baby. 3,400 from Khan on the Nard, getting things done in the team fights. we got ourselves an 11,000 gold lead 26 minutes in. We got Damwon pressuring both mid and bottom lane at the same time. Mid lane has found its way onto the tier 3 turret here, about half HP taken off of that one, as the bottom lane wave is about to crash in here too. Khan will continue standing next to that, making sure the minions stay enchanted, making sure they're that much more difficult to kill. The rest of Damwon will rotate over and try to get as much value out of as they can out of these two cannon minions. This tier 3 turret is dropping rapidly, and PSG Talon cannot mount the defense. That means that the first inhibitor should fall here without a fight in bottom lane. Meanwhile, back in mid, the pressure continues to be applied as well. This turret down to half HP will be the next target.
Yeah, absolutely. This is looking like the death march here. Going to be so hard for PSG to really hold on. They've kind of got to force something, even though it's incredibly difficult to do, because Zoe is just going to play over the wall. You can see the pink wards are set up to hide Zoe while she looks to fish over the wall, poke people out. So difficult to actually defend in these siege type situations. Ghost even has the rapid fire to chunk away. Equalizer going to get dropped to push him back. Another tower will go down. The top wave being pinged out. You can see Canyon is head up there. He's going to look to push that one in. And Damwon going to look to go around the ring here and get the triple inhib.
And the equalizer there is just so powerful, because there's other ults in the game that have that same kind of AoE, but the AoE and the range combined just lets him drop it down with complete safety and zone everyone away from that tier 3 turret,
Absolutely.
guaranteeing that Damwon can get that for themselves. Now they've taken down the last tier 2 here in the top lane. They've got one inhibitor turret left to siege, and they've got Baron for 15 more seconds. They want to try to get this on this wave. Turret already down below half, below a quarter. Goodbye, gone. Khan now trying to deal with Hanabi here in that 1v1 on the side, and doing so just incredibly easily. Equalizer has no cooldown. Look at Damwon's victory march here. PSG Talon's on the run. Maple tries to get away, but the damage just pours on through. He gets the Kingslayer, but it will not slay anyone from Damwon. River tries to buy some time with the Soul Shackles, but Showmaker has been running the show since the very beginning. A triple kill back over to Ghost. The ace for Damwon. The quadra kill to round it out. And 29 minutes in, Damwon will secure their spot in top 2 for the knockout stage.
Maple has the Kingslayer, but unfortunately for him, Showmaker is a god on the Zoe. This man is not to be messed with, cannot be stopped. Game start to game end, it was all about Showmaker winning out, getting all those early kills, grabbing the Herald, snowballing the game, and just making it nearly impossible for PSG to ever find any sort of a comeback, even helping to secure that 4th dragon with the double smite, grabbing them the soul. Damwon in full control here today, not messing around whatsoever, reminding people, yes, they may have had a few shaky games, but they were tournament favorites for a reason.
Yes, sir. This is a squad that you must respect from the start of the game. Otherwise, you give them that inch, they will take a mile every single time. And Damwon earned themselves a spot at the top. They will guarantee